and welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of SparkCasts. My name is Aditya Nair and I'm joined by Spark's faculty mentor Professor Kachi. Today we are joined by the final year students of our college. So, who are they? कौन है ये? कहाँ से आए?
Alright, so we have a very special panel in front of us today. These are people who survived 3.5 years of engineering. Let's start with that. It's not an easy thing to do. And they've all done it in very different ways as well. Like some of them have worked together for a couple of years, some of them haven't worked at all together. But they've all found their way eventually. So let's start with, we have Omkar Rane over here. He's a final year computer engineering student. He was in a bunch of committees in the first, second and third years. He got a prestigious internship at IIT Bombay and currently is working towards his master's profile. And next we have Trisha Shishodiya. Did I say that correctly? Because she's been bugging me about the spelling of her name for a while now. So she's a computer engineering student as well. Final year, she's been to the same IIT internship as Omkar. She's applying for masters as well. She's been in a bunch of committees. She was a member of the team that won War of Branches. And she's had a generally good time in this college. And on top of that, she comes from all the way from, where do you come from?
No, a very far away place. Keep it at that.
Not from this.
It's like Vasai Virar, one of those places. Right. Next we have Sakshi Khanna. She's an electronics student, final year. She's currently in KPMG. She's been in the chairperson position for 3 committees over a third year stint. And under her leadership, the team won NEC when she was the chairperson of ECEL. Under her leadership, they executed one of the best offline events that happened in online mode. And she's generally been a part of the college in one sphere or another, right? She's done a good job. And then we have Raj Gandhi, who has done so many things in this college that I don't really know where to start. Where do I start, man? Kahan chalu karu main aapse? Let's start with the music. Yeah. So he's been performing at open mic for the past 2 years with me. In case you all don't know, that's the only thing I participate in. He's been a part of the music side of this college for ever since day one, if I'm not wrong. And he's the one who's always motivating all the first year and second year students कि भैया आओ गिटार पकड़ो और गाओ मेरे साथ में. That's this guy. So it's a pretty special bunch. And what are we here to tell them or talk to them about?
Surviving.
Sir, I'm also placed at BNP.
Alright. So what's the agenda, man? What are we talking about?
We're talking about their basically how they survived engineering and what happened. So let's start from the start. How did you end up here?
Let's set the scene, right? March 2020. You all remember what happened?
Well.
Yeah. So I remember when this college basically stopped working because everything stopped working. Yeah. We ported to online mode shortly after that, right? But then for a very long time after that, we didn't have any students in this college because admissions weren't happening. Nobody knew what to do about any of that. And somewhere in the middle of the next year, slowly somehow admissions started. We figured out ways to do it online. And I don't know how useful those 8 or 9 months were for you guys because it's a very strange situation to be in, to have nothing to do for 9 months while not having a clear idea about where you're supposed to go afterwards, right? That's where it started for you guys. And then eventually admissions happen, you find your way to S.p.i.t. I want you to talk about those days, like the 30 days when you were, just jostling around from place to place trying to secure a seat somewhere in engineering. What was that like for you guys?
So firstly, मेरे साथ I'll talk in Hindi first. मेरे साथ पहले ऐसा हुआ कि I scored 95 percentile in JEE mains after taking a drop actually. I took a drop to increase my score in JEE, but due to lockdown I was not able to get that high score. I was getting NITs around Northeast and stuff, but I was not interested in that. So I applied for CET एक दिन पहले पढ़ा exam के, and then I went because I was frustrated of JEE advanced results and all. But then result came out, I got some like 98 percentile something, and in the first round itself I secured s.p.i.t of cap round. I was not at all present in induction. I didn't know anything about college, but yes, I came to know later on, like slowly I made friends on the groups. It was completely online, guys. Try to understand, you're on a WhatsApp group trying to know everyone, and it's a very complete, very different kind of connection. There is bonding, and then after 1.5 years, you met that person. There are some things like you come to know that the person is kind of your type or not. After that, things happen. Yeah. So I would like to end here.
So are you still friends with anyone you were then?
No, 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 no,
That's
no.
a very next question.
Exactly. That's what I meant. In the chatting, it's whole different perspective than in real life.
You didn't let him be diplomatic, man. Why do you do that?
Straight for the answer.
Yeah. What happened with you, Sakshi?
So with me, I was actually jumping colleges. So with me, what happened is with every single round, my college ended up changing. The first went to Vivekanand, then I was in Thadomal, then it went to DJ, then I had an upgrade in DJ, and I was the fourth or the third last person to secure a seat in S.p.i.t. right in the last day, and. I mean, it was quite a journey jumping from colleges, and especially in those uncertain times. But I think that more so than anything else, it was a test of patience for me. And eventually, I made it to S.p.i.t. It was my dream college. I was sitting and praying that, I need an admission in S.p.i.t. I need an admission in S.p.i.t. And I did end up manifesting that. And then, of course, as he said, everything was online. And with me, what happened is because I was admitted into this college in like one of the final days, exactly at the final day. So these groups were already made, and I was like added in the last moment, and I was still navigating through how everything was already placed. But eventually, I did end up making friends, so-called friends, but the experience he had, I had a very similar experience.
So for me, I wasn't preparing for the JEE exam. I was only focused on the CET. तो NITs IITs का था ही नहीं मेरे दिमाग में thought. And I was aiming for VJTI, of course, because it's the number one college. So-called number one.
So-called, supposedly.
Yes.
ये काट देना.
And I remember texting a bunch of people who were in VJTI, talking about them regarding the travel. Because that was the primary concern for me. How many trains would I have to change? What time would I have to leave my house and all of that? Because I remember my father was in SPCE, and he told me all about the travel. He'd also secured a seat in VJTI, and he had rejected that seat because of the travel. And he told me, I'm sure you're not going to want to go through all of that hassle. I was like, नहीं, number one college है, क्यों मैं मिस करूँ, जाना ही है मुझे मिलेगा तो of course. और ultimately मिला नहीं, that's a different story. But I think I got S.p.i.t. IT in the cap round. और ज़्यादा दिन का फ़र्क नहीं था in the institution round, I think it's called. I got S.p.i.t. CS. With regards to the online, I actually remember talking to you for about half an hour regarding the trouble I have to go through every day, how I do not like spending so many hours in front of my laptop, and how I just keep it turned on and go through my day. And that's exactly what happened for the 1 year or so that we had online college.
I think there are quite a few places I can relate to Trisha with. Firstly, is the travel. And second, I think with me also the case was that I'm not a very technically advanced person. I might sound very old school, but I'm not a tech person, not a tech savvy person, and I never enjoyed sitting in front of a laptop or a computer or my phone before that. A part of my struggles in the online mode was I remember this one case where we had this mechanics ESC, and my paper went actually very well, and I solved most of every single question. But what ended up happening is the way things were working back then is we had to write the answers on a sheet of paper and scan everything together and upload. So what ended up happening is when I was supposed to scan, I forgot to scan a few pages, and that was 10-15 marks worth of content. that I left out on. And on top of that, a sir had threatened me that if I don't get a 10 CGPA in mechanics, he's going to remove me from all of his committees.
So in
And
my
what was-
in my defense,
No,
in my
you don't get to speak.
So in my defense, what you just described, right? That would be one of the easiest ways of committing malpractice. I didn't want you to go through that, so I didn't make you go through that.
No cheating in SPIT.
No, I would like to add on, like, he's the one like whose lectures I have attended the most. Like, I also made a promise to make him a 3D Michael Jackson figure. Like, if he
Did you
remembers.
make that?
No. I was no. There is a reason behind it, because I didn't had a very high performing computer. I was having i3 generation computer with no graphic cards, so it was an ancient computer.
पर डाउनलोड भी हुआ ब्लेंडर
And to-
Fortunately, I was able to do any desk on that with very slowly.
So what did you make for your 3D project?
Change the name and
I remember in the one of the few early 3D sessions, I was supposed to tell him what we want to make. And I told him I'll make Mona Lisa's portrait, and I ended up making a flower pot.
Just for the record, first of all, that's a 2D painting. And the project was about making something that had 3 dimensions. In any case, I think Omkar was the one who did the best job out of all 4 of you. He said he'll make a headphone. He made a headphone. That's what I remember, right?
I said I've not done anything.
Doing something impressive, but then you gave up halfway.
Colosseum. That is what I told him I'd make.
I think it's still there on my laptop.
Pickle Rick from Rick and Morty. वो भी इसका लैपटॉप यूज करके एनी डेस्क
Any desk.
अगेन i3 वाले हो.
But the thing is, some topics and some subjects were relatively easy to execute online. Like, I was basically teaching you all software, right? So that was easy because screen sharing sorts out 90% of the difficulties. Some subjects aren't that easy. What was it like for you? So if I'm not wrong, you're the person who lives the closest out of all 4 of them.
He's a Rajan's representative.
Oh man.
Rajan's.
Yeah, so my problems weren't very similar to hers. So yes, I live very close, but that was not the reason. That was not the reason for choosing the college. So
Two steps walk school से college.
It was a very very simple process. I went on SPIT's website, saw the highest package, and I was like, "इधर ही जाना
That's what all of us did.
है, इधर ही जाना है बस."
And ironically,
And you did not even take up that.
What? हाँ,
Battery replacement.
वो अलग बात, वो छोड़ो, कट. Yeah. So the unique experience that I had before coming to this college was that I basically studied online in BITS Goa for 1 month before coming here. Yeah. But there, what opened my eyes the most was the batch size there was very large. Like especially in electronics, it was around 300. So I could see myself getting lost somewhere or getting on the back foot. So while coming here, I had that perspective in mind that I won't be as shy, I won't be as quiet. I'll try to be active. I'll try to make as many friends as possible.
So what made you think that s.p.i.t would be the place where you get to do that?
I didn't actually have a choice. ये अगर best है तो इधर ही जाना है. There were no second or third bests, and I it was a very a very odd opinion, but I didn't even consider VJTI as an option because इधर ही आना था पहले से decided था और मुझे पसंद आ गया था आने से पहले ही for whatever reason.
चल हट,
And फिर
घर के पास था इसलिए.
for whatever reason, and so इधर ही आ गए.
So when was the first time you guys did something together online? Not together as in all 4 of you, but as classmates, right? Outside of lectures, when did that happen?
We scheduled a meet, to meet offline in a restaurant, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, but online, I think we were doing these. I remember Raj playing a guitar in one of those sessions, if I'm not
I
wrong.
guess I don't remember.
Yeah, like our class was like had just scheduled like a G meet at 10 p.m. in the night, and then everyone was together. We were introducing ourselves, trying to play games
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
That was an
is-
online meet.
Yeah.
Yeah. After that, we scheduled a meet in like a restaurant and.
I remember we went to Bandstand, if I'm not
Huh,
wrong.
yeah. See.
Oh, that was fun. It must have been fun, right? Yeah, it was. Cool, cool. So what I remember about that is that we had auditions for Mudra and we had interviews for other committees. I'll come to that in a minute. So we were just trying to figure out how to do auditions for fine arts people. Because music is fine, you can sit with your instrument and play in front of a screen, right? That's what Keyur Pancholi did. That's their classmate, by the way. He had a big, nice electric guitar. He tried to play that in front of us. We couldn't hear anything, but we appreciated the effort. I hope he's doing well these days. That was easy. The drama thing was also relatively easy because you just had to act in front of a screen. And then there was dance. We had no idea how to go about auditioning that. So we asked people to submit video recordings of their performance. And we kind of wish we hadn't done that.
Were there cases people morphing their faces with actual dance?
No. We didn't have deep fakes around that prominently in the public space. Yeah. The landscape has changed a lot in the past 3 years. It's not just you guys having transitioned from online to offline, right? Lots of other things have changed. But in any case, since we're talking about committees, let's talk about committees. So in the first year, the way things work is you get to be in something we call a subcommittee for every committee practically, right? They have weird names sometimes, but it's a subcommittee. Everybody knows that. So there must have been some kind of induction process that you didn't attend, but you guys must have, right? That's where you got your first taste of what committees are like. So then you all chose specific committees, right? There's committees you didn't even target in the first year. So which committees did you go for in the first year? Why did you do that? What was the selection and interviewing process like for you? Set aside the fact about whether that was a fair process or not. That's a different story, right?
So in my case, I was unfortunately still very studious right after.
Why unfortunate?
Because I think I was very like I did not want to do a lot of extracurricular. I was kind of carrying forward that thing that I developed in 11th and 12th that I have to study. And with engineering especially, I wasn't very sure if I wanted to do engineering.
Just let me interrupt you for a minute. You still have to study, okay? That doesn't go away. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so I wasn't very sure if I wanted to do engineering. And then what ended up happening is that because I wasn't very inclined towards it, I thought that I'll have to put in a lot of effort into studying because this is not my strong point, and science and tech is not my strong point. So then when we had that induction, I think the only committee that impressed me was the industry relations cell, IR. And I was just blown away with the presentation that was shown to us on behalf of IR and the domain that it was catering to, and it just felt like this is where I belong. All the professional skill set and connecting the college to the outside environment, that was something I was very interested in. So I was blown away by IR, and IR was the committee I wanted to be in. I wasn't very specifically intrigued by ECEL, but I ended up applying for ECEL because everyone was applying for ECEL. And out of that peer pressure, I was like, okay, everyone is doing this, I'll also do it. I just filled in that form, and I filled in the form for IR. And the way things happen is that IR interviews end up happening pretty late. So by then my ECEL selection was done, and then the question was that no person can be in ECEL and IR together. And I was like, I want IR, I did not want ECEL, but I got selected in ECEL, now what? And everyone around me was telling, no, you're in ECEL, so you can't be in IR. And I was like, okay, but let me give it a shot, then let's do that interview. And I ended up making through the first shortlisting of IR as well after my ECEL selection. Eventually, I did end up being in both the committees, and years later, I ended up being the chairperson of both of them. And one thing I have to mention, I was also interested by Spark.
Yes.
I was also I was also interested in Spark because it had something to do with writing and films and all of that. But I had this misconception that to be in Spark, you have to be a bookworm. And this is what I told him in my second year, that I didn't apply for Spark because I thought I should read a lot of books to be in Spark. Eventually, people did have this impression about me that I'm very active in committees, but I actually interviewed for just 2 committees. I got into them, and I knew people who were into 5-6 committees at the same time. So I wasn't
was
that
one.
active. Yeah. So I wasn't that active in my first year in committees, but I just shortlisted these 2 committees that felt like, okay, there's something meaningful happening in
No,
these 2
in my case, like I was like, done. I'm done with studies. Let's enjoy. And I ended up in entering 4 committees. I was there in IIT, IEEE, then I was there in sports committee, and then Oculus.
Let's talk about your first year interview experience.
I think for me, right before college, I knew I wanted to be a part of several committees because, again, I was also so done with studies, I couldn't take it anymore. And I knew this is something that's going to be important for me for my all-round development, because right from the start, I knew I wanted to go for a master's degree or my extracurriculars chahiye hota hai, blah, blah, blah. And besides that, also, I wanted to develop myself overall. So during the induction, I think for me, what makes the best impression for a committee is the kind of person who's giving the induction,
Yeah.
the presentation, right?
Yeah.
So out of all committees, I think I was super impressed by Varun, of course, because he's a good speaker, and who was the chairperson for Spark?
Sanjana.
Right, and she was so fluent, and I am so impressed by fluent people all the time. And right from the start, I wanted to organize events, before I even started with the committees. And she talked about open mic. And she mentioned that the members of the committee, even the subcom members, they could participate and they could help in organizing events. So that was one committee, Spark, that I was the most interested in. And I did apply for it and I did get into it. So besides Spark, I think I applied for FACE. That was the very first committee I interviewed for, क्योंकि कॉम्स का कमिटी था और सबसे पहले उन्होंने ग्रुप पे आके बोला था अप्लाई करो लिमिटेड स्पॉट्स एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. So I did do that and I got into that committee as well. I applied for CSI and I gave a pretty bad interview. First round mein I got selected. For the second round it was a group thingy, and the topic they'd given, I had zero clue about it, so I ended up being shot for the entire interview. Besides that, ESL, of course, the most intimidating interview of all.
Correct.
3 rounds. Who does that? And besides, there were so many people who had applied, right? So, of course, that was the most intimidating interview. And even the work-wise, I think during the induction, I wasn't that impressed with the kind of work that they mentioned, because startups के बारे में बहुत कुछ बोला था, entrepreneurship के बारे में बोला था, और पता ही नहीं था तभी क्या था, और organization के बारे में कुछ नहीं बोला था, which is one thing I really wanted to do. तो मैंने सिर्फ अप्लाई करने के लिए कर दिया था because I wanted to be a part of as many committees as possible. And I remember speaking to so many people, so many seniors, about which committees I should apply to, the right number of committees there are that you should apply for in your first year, कौन सी अच्छी committees है, ECL का rank क्या है पूरे country में, CSI का rank क्या है. And during my induction also, I remember noting down everything for every committee, going through the websites and being super ready for every interview, because I wanted to make sure I'm choosing the right path for myself right from the beginning. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so I remember the first interview I gave was FACE, but I didn't get in. So I can't curse here, but you know who we are. So shortly after that, I think I applied for CSI Subcom, and the first interview was bad. Like it was a personal, like one-on-one interview, and I gave the interview, and after that I realized कि यार नहीं गया है अच्छा. And then he came back another time कि तुझे और कुछ बोलना है तो तू बोल सकता है, कुछ अलग बोलना है तो बोल सकता है. And maybe in the second chance I covered something up. I gave a bit of a better expression of myself as a person, and maybe that got me into the second round, which was the GD. And in the GD I spoke very well. Maybe the topic was good or my points were better than the rest, but yeah, I basically got into CSI subcom. Then I remember giving the interview for ECEL as well, but I didn't get in, so we'll come back to that later. Yeah, but where I got in was IR. Basically, the as he said, the presentation was actually very appealing, and तभी थोड़ा misconception होता था कि IR is equal to placement. So if you get into one, you get the other. So वो भी था thought process, and so yes, so I tried getting into it from the get go, and then जो story unfold हुआ, you all know. And yes, so Oculus wasn't in my mind then, because it was like after our admissions it was pretty late, and Oculus was like just happening. Like the first time at least comms met offline was on Pro Night. So you know what kind of rush we were in. So we didn't really get the chance to interact much, to know how Oculus was actually, and to get into it was a whole different story back then. So yeah, so I was a bit cut off from Oculus back then, but yeah, from the second, third year, then I got in, and then
I remember the first time I came back to college after doing things online for almost a year and a half. So for your admissions, I was in college, by the way. It was this very room when we did admission allocations. This is 105. Everybody in the college knows this room. But what was it like for you guys to come to college and sit here and look at the space that you're in and sit in a classroom and listen to somebody talk? What was that like, Omkar?
So we came back to offline college in our semester 4, that is the second year, second half, and it was pretty good. It was good to get out of the one room. It was good to let go of our gadgets for once and sit in a physical room. And even if the lectures were a bit boring, it was good to have the company around of our friends. Do all kinds of जो भी time pass होता है दिन भर में करना, right from 9 all the way to 4. Then you have different minors, different electives. तो उसमें भी time चला जाता है, and it was a really exciting experience transitioning from online to offline. And it wasn't very new to our friends, because we had met a couple of times even during when the college was online. So it wasn't very new to us. But yes, the collective experience was really great.
I think for the most part, I like the transition. I'm talking about the transition mainly because ultimately, after coming to college every day, traveling for 3 hours, this is the only thing I'm going to be talking about for the rest of the podcast. It was a bit hectic, and I kind of missed just logging into the lectures and leaving and doing my work. I'm allowed to say that.
Yes. I didn't know that happened.
And not your lectures. सच्ची में.
मैंने तुझे बुलाया था कॉल करके ना 2-3 बार.
Okay.
कि सर बुला रहे हैं.
No, but really, the attendance and everything, it kind of sucked the soul out of me eventually. But okay, I like offline college more than online. That's for sure. But ऐसे. Actually, you.
I think again I have a lot to relate to Trisha with, and that is the travel. I remember the very first day we were supposed to come to college, and a little disclaimer: my school was 5 minutes away. My junior college was 5 minutes away from my home, and I'd never been to Thane railway station before, and I'd never gone anywhere outside of that one area I was living in. and I had to come to Andheri from Thane. And we had taken this mutual decision that I'm not doing train, so I was supposed to do buses. And I remember the very first day I missed my bus because I was standing at the wrong bus stop, and I missed my bus. And then I asked a random rickshaw wala, "Bhaiya, aapko Bhavan's college pata hai?" And that is how I. नहीं, and that is. हाँ.
Yeah, yeah.
Where do you go?
No, first day.
Obviously.
Yeah, so I missed my bus and all of that. I somehow reached college, and then every day became about, trying to figure out where exactly does my bus come. And then eventually, I think the way things changed for me was when I started doing events in college, the offline events. By then I was already the chairperson of IR in my second year, so we had to organize all of these events. And I remember doing this very special event called Invert You, which was in hybrid mode. We were doing it offline in this very room, and we were broadcasting it on a Gmeet as well. And it was a very special experience. And I know after I started prepping for Invert You, after that every day I was going home very late because one or the other thing started happening. Invert You, then the fashion show and everything else, the SPJ in minors and all of that. So it was a difficult transition for me, especially for someone who had not traveled so much before. But then I think the college became my home.
Aww.
Will Raj say the same thing?
No, different. For me, it was completely different experience. First of all, like I thought it would be like a Karan Johar movie scene where I'd be entering like Varun Dhawan and stuff.
Yeah. But since you're talking about events, so Invert You was the first offline event that we did well in this college after lockdown happened. And I remember figuring out the tech for that. You were a part of it as well. So the problem there was to ensure that everybody online was able to attend it, everybody offline was able to attend it, and whatever we were doing, right, was also being broadcast outside. But back then, this college didn't really have broadcasting tech. That's changed, right? We have Idea Lab with us. There's broadcasting equipment. You can use it if you want. There were a lot of other tiny challenges that we didn't really think about when offline started, right? So, for example, there was War of Branches, and if I'm not wrong, you were a participant. And you won. So what was it like coordinating War of Branches while the pandemic was still around? Like, were you practicing wearing masks? What were you all doing?
I think the college had started by then, right? So for me, I think firstly I was very excited to be a part of it because I had stopped dancing after 10th grade because of all of the exams and preparing for undergrad and everything, and this was my first chance to get back to it, especially on a stage, and I wasn't gonna miss it for the world. And I was also there for a very big reason, and that was Siddesh.
Siddesh Sonamne.
Yes.
Who is Siddesh Soname, for those who don't know? Who is that guy?
You have
A chat person? A chat person. For me, he's a chat person.
So Siddesh Sonavne is the founder of Mudra, that is the cultural committee of our college. More than just being a cultural enthusiast, he's done a lot for this college in terms of the committee culture, and he's that one senior or alumni of this college that you can call anytime for any sort of guidance, and he's going to be available for that. You can just call him anytime and he's going to explain everything, how events are done, etc. So he is a very special alumni of this college.
वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन में नंबर डाल रहा है.
The thing that so Siddesh has been coming and evaluating like your freshers competitions for 3 years in a row. But the thing that I want him to come and do in this college more often than not is just to perform at open mic, and he's been doing that for ever since offline started. And for that matter, so have we, right? Yeah. What's that like, man? Open mic, कैसा लगता है?
Open mic is very close to my heart. Like I've done it in 2 years, and it is the best time I have in my college like performing with you and the whole crowd, like the young crowd who is enjoying a lot, is kind of very special to me, because it's a platform where you get to, expose yourself. You don't get such platforms very consistently, like very frequently, but this platform is just wow. Like I love it. Like if you say there's open mic tomorrow, and if I'm not available, I'll make sure I'm available for that day. That's how my commitment is for open mic.
And Raj, who is it that organizes open mic? Sir, who is it? याद नहीं आ रहा सर मुझे.
It is organized, and it is all organized by KK sir, and like he's the one, right?
कमेटी का नाम लो, कमेटी.
I don't remember. I don't know.
All cameras. Open mic is organized by Spark. Spark, the best comedy. One A, one B. ESL भी है. हाँ. I have other.
No man, I know, I like to enjoy. Like I don't go for such names and stuff. But yeah,
event, right?
yeah. It's very close.
नाम भूल गया इतना बोल दो ना.
So in any case, I'm with Raj about this. Right, the whole concept of open mic is, it's not really a competition, right? So it's just this space for people to come and do whatever they want in front of a crowd of 300 people or more, and there's always really good stage decor and so on and so forth. It's a fun place to perform in. And then one of the things that I look forward to at open mic, right, all the time, is that you end up seeing people you never thought you'd be seeing on stage doing things you'd never really think they'd do on stage. So for example, you have something to say, Omkar, कुछ बोलना है आपको?
So I was the epitome of what KK sir is describing right now. Yeah, I would have thought of performing on stage, let alone sing a song. So yeah, the motivation was obviously that कि ये दोस्तों के लिए करना है, कि ऐसी कोई जज करने वाला नहीं होने वाला, सब अपने ही लोग होने वाले हैं. And it was in fact a surprise to my friends as well. I didn't even tell them that I was participating. It was just me and Keur Pancholi, another classmate of mine, who sat together, who hid from our other classmates. We ran away from labs, कुछ बहाने देके library जाना है, washroom जाना है, कुछ जाना है. And we went to Bhavan's Lake or something. We practiced there for a couple of hours. Everyone was asking us, कहाँ हो तुम लोग, क्या कर रहे हो, ये हो, and we just made up some stupid excuses. But I think you had it figured out
और इसके
by
फोन पे
the end.
constantly क्यूर का call out of nowhere for 10 days.
Yeah, so you got worried or something?
No, like I would like to add one more thing to open mic, is that like everyone will go yeah, no one will go like boo. Okay, so that will make your confidence level go high, and make yourself.
In any case, that's my favorite event as far as college events go. There's no question about it. Truth, right? You attended a couple of open mics, and I don't really see you around at cultural events much besides open mic. And when you do cultural events, you end up on stage in the fashion show. That's what you end up doing. Why do you turn up for open mic?
I think, like Raj already said, it is a place where everyone is just encouraging each other, and it feels like a very positive environment to be in. And I feel like people are themselves when they're on stage, especially in open mic, because when we do things like fashion show, etc., we have to take care of certain rules and guidelines that you can't wear this, you can't do this, etc. But open mic is a very free event. But having said that, as much as I've observed the team, they are very conscious of what they are putting on stage, and no one takes offense at whatever is being said or whatever is being sung or whatever is being performed. So it is very rare to get that kind of environment in this college or any other engineering college per se. So that's why I attend open mic.
speaking of things that you don't come just to watch, let's talk about ESL. We have we have in this room a vice chairperson or chairperson, a tech head, but technically a vice chairperson. And the other vice chairperson couldn't make it to this. Otherwise, he would have also agreed with me. You guys have been in ESL for the past 3 years, right? You entered at the first year, you left at the third year, at like leaving ESL at the absolute best place you could leave it in. And this guy helped you do that immensely. And I'll be the first one who will vouch for that. Let's talk about NEC. Let's talk about the E-Summit. But let's talk about it from the perspective of people who are looking back instead of people who are in the moment worrying about every single thing. So having done that, what are you all feeling? What's it like?
I think you pretty much summed it in that sentence when you said that you are leaving ESL in its best possible, like in a lot of glory. And I'm sure Omkar Trisha will join me in saying that we are very proud of whatever ESL has achieved in the past tenure. And all of that has become possible because of the team that we ended up accumulating and assembling. If I have to just talk about my personal experience with ESL, I think my third year was where I actually enjoyed ESL. Before that, ESL was a place of negativity for me, if I have to be very honest. Um, in my first year, of course, it was online, so didn't count much. In my second year, because I'd already become a chairperson of another committee, and that wasn't digested properly by the then leadership team or the team that was around me as well. So I ended up facing a lot of issues in ESL, and it reached to a point where I did not want to come back to ESL in my third year. A simple example being that when the NEC or the National Entrepreneurship finals happened in that tenure, I wasn't even aware that the finals are happening, and I think Trisha also wasn't aware. And it was that stage where, when it came to my third year, ESL was not an option for me. But when I spoke to Sir about it, he said that your experiences in ESL were because of the people that were involved, and now it is like the onus is on you of making the most out of ESL. And not even in my wildest dreams, forget, I can't even say that winning NEC was a dream come true, because not even in my wildest dreams I thought we'd win NEC. But I think the reason we won NEC was because, especially from my perspective, I never thought of winning NEC. Like, I never thought of the outcome. And every time any particular task was assigned, I was very critical, and I was very serious about meeting the deadlines. I remember Omkar was handling one of the tasks, and so the way I was working is that I was giving deadlines. So for example, IIT Bombay's deadline is 17 January. My deadline to my team was 16 January. So I was very particular. If no one, like for example, a particular team has not given me the document before the deadline, then I would get very furious, and those things happened. But eventually, I think the reason that we won NEC was from all the bad experiences I had in my second year in ESL. Because from that, I learned the importance of assembling a right team, a team that's more sincere, and not just a team that's full of people who are good at communicating and talking. I was also looking for people who are sincere towards their responsibilities and have that accountability. So when I was assembling my team and we were doing the selections, at least I was very particular of having sincere people and people who had that accountability in them. So all my bad experiences turned into really good learnings, and that paved way for the NEC win. And again, my IR chairpersonship actually helped me during the NEC finals, because it was all about organizing events. And again, my IR chairpersonship helped me, understand how we are supposed to organize events. And again, just the last thing about this, that I wouldn't have won NEC with any other team apart from the team I had with me. Be it any other chairperson, any other vice chairperson other than Trisha, other than Omkar, other than Siddesh, any other vice chairperson, I wouldn't have won NEC. Any other core team, I wouldn't have won NEC. Any other subcommittee, I wouldn't have won NEC. So it was a team's win, and we won NEC the day we made those team selections.
Fair. So, the greatest things this ESL team did was they won the NEC. They pulled off a great E-Summit, which you're going to talk about. And you hired Aditya Nair. Like, I don't think you all could have done anything better. Genuinely, there's nothing better they could have done. Summit pe aa gaye. You all pulled off one of the greatest E-Summits this college has seen. How was that, Trisha?
One of them.
Okay, the biggest. For the camera, it was the biggest E-Summit this college has ever seen.
I think before coming to the summit, I'll also add on to what Sakshi said about the NEC. I think the mindset that we had right from the beginning was to give our best to whatever be the circumstances. And I think this trait of ours especially showed in one event that was Illuminate. And we had seen that other colleges, they were not conducting Illuminate altogether because they were not able to
Secure the funds.
secure the funds and the number of participants that they were supposed to. But we gave our best. We did everything that we had to in order to conduct that one event, and we made sure that we're doing everything right, even if we didn't know that we have a chance in winning the competition or not. And I think that's the kind of mindset that everyone should have with regards to any kind of competition or anything that they're taking part in. Wanting to give your all in and without thinking about the consequences that you have later on. So talking about the summit, like Sir said, like Aditya said, it was the greatest summit of all, and that's the kind of thing we wanted to hear from everyone and not just say that out by ourselves. So I do think we did a very good part. From our ends, we pulled in speakers like Raj Shamani, stand-up comedian who was Karunesh Talwar, and
Kudos to Trisha for getting Karunesh on board.
thank you. And that was a very big hassle for me. I'll talk about that in detail. I remember for the 6 months of my internship, for 2 entire months, I think we spent preparing for the summit.
More.
And yeah, maybe more. And in those 2 months, I may have written 10 lines of code.
For the internship.
That is all I'd like to say about my contribution to the summit. Every day, I think I would spend hours making calls to several agencies, asking about the kind of people they can get us, the kind of money they are offering the people at, and just I don't even remember so many details. There were so many calls I had with that guy, and so there were times of frustration when he wasn't picking up my calls. He was giving us numbers that we cannot even think of, spending, and I'm running out of words here, but we did end up getting Karunesh on board with whatever kind of troubles we had to go through, because he wanted to we we were looking at hotels for him. He told me to this is just a full-on rant at the moment. You can cut that out later on, that's fine. But he'd asked me to look for hotels for him to stay for one night, although he lives in Mumbai. And he hadn't specified anything. So we looked out for hotels. We sent him around 10-15 hotels. And उसने बोला था कि हाँ बताएगा. और समिट के 3-4 दिन पहले उसने बोला उससे ताज में रहना है. तो उसके पैसे कहाँ से लाए? और ये 1 दिन पहले बोला जा रहा है. और उसके बाद उसको सोहा हाउस पे ड्रॉप करना है, वहाँ से पिकअप करना है, ताज पे ड्रॉप करना है, वहाँ से एयरपोर्ट पे ड्रॉप करना है, एयरपोर्ट से वापस लेके आना है. ऑल ऑफ दैट वी हैड टू मैनेज इन such a short amount of time. The details. Oh my god. So that was all about Karunesh. But besides that, again, I think the team did a very good part on their ends with regards to all of the events that we conducted. There were so many events, so many people who had to take care of so many things at once. And for us, I think more than understanding the flow of how things are going to work, including the logistics and getting people on board, I think we understood how to manage people more than all of that, because I personally remember having conversations with a lot of people in our committee who were frustrated and who were stressed out and who took their stress out on me. You know who you are. And that was pretty tough to deal with, of course. And managing so many people, I think for such a big event, it was a first for you as well, and maybe a first for you. That was one thing I wanted to talk about. You can add on to something else.
I think I learned how to manage money. Like I already explained that I'd never traveled so much or never carried a lot of money in my life, and now with the e-summit, dealing with lakhs of money, and yeah, I'm not giving out the number, don't worry. And then I think deciding on where you should spend and where you can save, I learned it during the e-summit. Like we had discussions with various speakers, and there were certain speakers we could have, we could afford, but then I was like, okay, does this person actually deserve the money? Or for example, little things that we want to make, like a logo. So people were saying that, we can buy this and that, and then I was like, no, make it with the cardboard. We are not spending money on this, and we're not spending money on that. The food, I was like, get it from, don't get it from Vrindavan. There's no need to get it on Zomato or something like that. So, I was just learning how to, manage money, in my personal opinion. Omkar.
Yeah, so of course it was a team effort because we had like several competitions, several speakers, then several speakers to take care of, like backstage, in front of the stage, then for all the operations that was happening, logistics, everything. Of course, it was a team effort, and it wouldn't have been possible without Aditya Nair. Yeah, and all this has been talked about. But yeah, one last thing that I wanted to point out was, as she said, she wrote only 10 lines of code in 2-3 months. And that is actually true because every morning it was the same case. We started working on our laptops. I turn around after 2 seconds to ask something, to ask a doubt, and she isn't there. She is somewhere on the call to discuss some money or to secure a sponsorship or to secure a speaker and something. And I have seen this girl work very hard to do all that she did for this summit, and it actually shows. And yes, I am very proud of the whole team for executing such a big feat.
And since we're talking about ESL, there's one thing that I have to mention. ESL is ESL because of its faculty mentor. We have enjoyed having the most chill faculty mentor.
Who's the faculty mentor?
KK sir. And I mean, ESL have had all its achievements because of his guidance and because of him being so approachable. Like, all of us, not just with regards to ESL, all of us could just go to him about anything, call him at any point in time, and even if he's in his lectures, he'll of course tell us that you come after the lectures, but then after having this whole day of lectures, he's going to listen to our rant about how a particular person is not working and not doing as per what is expected.
We aren't speaking about Aditya Nair, okay?
Yeah, we're not talking about Aditya Nair.
I didn't talk.
Yeah, so yeah. So I think we enjoy having the best faculty mentor in this college, and I'm sure everyone agrees.
Spark agrees.
Okay.
Yeah, we remember KK sir waiting back till 1 or 2 a.m.
On the first day of the
On
summit.
the first night of the summit. Yeah, and when like barely any members of the committee had were waiting back, excluding you. You waited. Yeah, you wait. I know.
You carried the summit.
Yeah, you carried the summit. Yeah. For context, Aditya and I carried the summit from Goregaon to Andheri.
In an auto.
Yeah, in an auto. Yeah, one
This big of a summit.
That doesn't. Overall,
This is the summit. You can see it here.
Yes.
And even with regards to NEC, all 3 days he was with us while we were performing the tasks inside. Trisha and I were inside, and he was outside. Any help we needed, he was just there, and I don't imagine any other faculty doing that for us. So, kudos.
Sir ki gaadi mein.
In my defense,
Okay, good.
in my defense, this kind of stuff comes naturally when you are dealing with a team like yours. Otherwise, it doesn't. Yeah. So, moving on.
ठीक है. Summit होता है. Summit के आसपास एक और काफी बड़ा इवेंट होता है.
क्या होती है?
क्या होते हैं?
ओ से नाम है उसका.
Oculus.
कैसा था?
See, I participated in Oculus for like till second year. In the third year, I was not there actively participating in any committee or any, co-curricular stuff basically other than guitar. That's it. So I know the first 2 years where I enjoyed a lot. There are many events in the Oculus like IPL and then IPL auction, then there are some stock market something. Yeah, virtual stock market. Then they have Sargam also for singing and for music, etc. Okay, then in my first year, Varun Sharma came to for a stand-up comedy show. Varun Sharma and Azim Manatwala. Okay, so they both came. I enjoyed the show offline in that time. In the pandemic, I came to college. There were only selected students who were invited, and I was one of them. And yeah, yeah, he. I guess he mistakenly called you a student. Yeah.
Where does that not happen?
Not the first time, certainly not the last time.
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed a lot first 2 years, and then I didn't go for third year because of my studies and stuff. I got involved in studies in third year because I came to know that yes, enjoyment has been done for 2 years. Let's come back to the studies else.
So that's about enjoying Oculus, but what about organizing Oculus?
Yeah, so for the past 2 years, that is second and the third year, whatever interaction I have had with Oculus is in the form of organizing something or the other. So in the second year, along with the madam here, we were a part of an event called Tech Race, and it was basically a treasure hunt spread across the city. And yes, it was the very first event where we were given the complete control of. They were like, you come up with your own event, you come up with all the minute details, you make a pitch deck and you pitch the event to us, and we'll decide how capable you are or not. And we secured the event and we went ahead with organizing that. And then from there, it was just like one after another intricate details about how every logistic had to be planned, how every operation had to be done, and so on and so forth. Right from around 2-3 months in advance. Yeah, around 2-3. So like, around 4 months in advance to the D-Day. There were like every day we used to have meets. Ki ye baki hai, ye karna baki hai. There were so many elements involved. There was an app for the same. We had separate website for the registration. Then obviously all the offline logistics that you could see in front of you. So everything had to be coordinated, and we had a team of around 15. Yeah, so we had a team of around 15 for that. And yes, that were like truly the best people we could have wished for, because
those were our friends.
Yeah.
That was the reason we kind of created that team to go for that event.
Yeah, and in my third year, then again, I was the head of operations for Oculus, and it takes you to a kind of a different role, a kind of a different capacity. And there, what the main or the key takeaway, apart from organizing walkie talkies, was the fact that how you could, have a broader image of the whole event. It's not just about one sub event, it's not just about one particular thing happening at this day. It's about the whole 3 day, the whole 3 day exchange that takes place. And that is what Oculus has taught me in the long run, how to basically have the broader image in your mind and how to take things ahead.
And I think his experience in Oculus actually helped us a lot in eSummit. For someone like me who wasn't really involved with Oculus in organizing capacity in all 3 years, I very heavily relied on Omkar for the operations, because I had never organized this big of an event before, even though I was organizing events for all my college life. But an event at that big of a scale, I hadn't done that, and it was Omkar's expertise that actually helped in the operations aspect of it. Trisha's idea with marketing, that is what helped with the marketing of eSummit. And of course, we had the student council for the support.
Yeah, shout out to the council.
Yes, I recently just came back from Uttarakhand for my IB. How was yours IB?
Yeah, I went to Ivy. I didn't miss the opportunity. I was like, yes, I want to, explore that part of India. I've never, before this, I've never came out of Maharashtra. Like, it's my personal experience. So when I went there, I experienced minus 12 degrees Celsius. It was, no, it was very dangerous experience, I would say. But yes, it was worth the exploring. And
So wait, for the uninformed, where did you go?
I went to Manali. Manali, Kasol. Then we went to Chandigarh. Then we went to Amritsar. Yeah. So these places we went.
And how was yours IB?
So we went to Rajasthan this year for IB, and I personally didn't want to go because last year ही गई थी मैं, और same चीज़ें same जगह से photos लेके आ गए वापस. But besides that, it was our last trip with our friends who are not here with us anymore.
ऐसे कौन बोलता है? ऐसे कौन बोलता है? They got placed, guys. They just got placed.
We're in different cities. They're in different cities now, and towards the end of the trip, it got a little emotional for all of us because we don't know the next time that we're going to meet. And even today, we were talking about their absence क्योंकि पहली बार क्लास में उनको नहीं देखे, and there were just strangers around all of us. It was a little odd for us, and we miss you guys.
Yeah, so adding to the last trip, like in the context of last trip, I would like to add that if we are like students, if whoever is watching, like if you have a group of friends and if you're planning a IV in the last year, please make that happen. Please make that happen, because in our branch, we didn't go for an IV this year because there was so much of groupism. There was so much of, tensions around the students because placements were happening, and I don't know what is behind us. Recession came in and placement season was very tough this year. So that's why many of the students turned back, like we don't want to go. So please make sure that doesn't happen with you guys.
And also our projects.
Yeah. Enjoy the elements of Ivy and be high on the nature.
Since you're talking about, since you're bringing up the topic of recession, right? Yeah. It's not really something I wanted to discuss, but it's tough to be in this spot. It's tough for anybody who's in this spot.
No, see, getting into a company is not tough. Surviving that patch until you get a company, it's very tough. Like your self-confidence is tested over there, I would say. You are going through such a situation in which your best friends are getting placed, and you're unlucky kind of stuff. Okay, I was there. I was in the first 10 to 15 company. I was not there even getting shortlisted for the test. Okay, interviews are another thing. I have been through that, and I have been through 3 interviews. Third one was the last one, and I got selected in the third interview. Okay, but yes, it is quite a learning stage. Just remember that if you don't get anything, have patience. You will get something, and make the most of out of it. Like whenever you are going to an internship or anything. Okay, just make most out of it. Don't fear recession. It's just that for the limited period of time you will get high paying jobs. Okay, you are in tech industry, so you need not to worry if you have a proper skill set.
So, I mostly agree with what Raj is saying. The thing about placements is that it's largely a numbers game, right? When you end up in one of the top 5 colleges in Bombay, let's say, right, you're all basically on the same level. I see no visible difference between an IIT Bombay student and an s.p.i.t student. I'll just be frank about that. There are differences between IIT and s.p.i.t, of course, right? But there's no difference between the students. So when these recruiters come for the placement rounds, right, they know that you've already passed a certain bar. So they are not really coming here to evaluate that. At least that's what my perception is. But then I've seen people go through, like, I've seen two similar people go through the same process, and then one of them gets selected, one doesn't. It's just the nature of the game. That's how things work. That said, I've been in this college for a few years now. I've seen a bunch of placement rounds. What I've noticed is that there have been years when the placement process was so easy because the companies were just coming, and they were offering these beautiful packages, and the placement rounds went smoothly, and the selections were out, and everybody was happy, right? But ever since COVID, ever since recession, like generally all over the country, not just in Bombay, right? The number of people you see happy after the first or second or third round that they give substantially lower, and that's just the nature of the game. But in spite of that, practically everybody in this institute is now placed, almost everybody, like maybe 80%, 90%, yeah. But they still have companies coming around, right?
Yeah.
So things are turning around with that regard, and I don't really worry about placements right now the way I worried about them initially when COVID lockdown lifted, because even the companies didn't really know what to do in that state, right? What kind of people do they want to employ? What is the work that these people are supposed to do? Now everybody's adapted to this hybrid mode of working. People are working from home and so on and so forth. But that didn't exist back then. So you guys came into the engineering discipline at a very, very weird time.
We're leaving at a
We're
very
leaving at a very decent time. That's what's happening. So things are bound to improve for the next batch, of course. So you don't really have to worry about things unless you do. Then we'll talk about it. But in any case, you guys aren't playing that game at all, right? You're playing a completely different game, and it starts with a very prestigious IIT Bombay internship. How did that come about? What made you select that? What made you go that route? And why specifically a master's abroad as opposed to doing it in the country?
Should I? Yeah, so with regards to the internship, I was looking for a research internship, and so was he. Because that was the rule of the college. We were supposed to look for a research internship and not a corporate one. So the normal procedure of going about these things, what I'd heard from our seniors is that you directly contact a couple of professors you want to work under, and if they reply to you, pretty good, and if they don't, you keep looking for professors mainly. But there are some companies that have their R&D departments where the college might approve of. I'm not sure if that's the case, but mostly they wanted us to work under professors.
So do you feel like you're just playing the whole speaker game again? You're just trying to get a new speaker, but this was like a master's person who's going to give you a master's.
Yeah, a little bit, but here the contact was only with regards to email.
You didn't get to speak to them on call.
No, because professors, they don't reply. Except for you. Except for you. Yeah, so I remember contacting 25 to 30 professors. I lucked out because I didn't have to contact a lot of them. And for me, okay, I'll come to that later. But I think I got responses from 2 people. one of them was a professor from ICT. And I did go and meet him, and he did approve of an internship for me, but that was entirely under the chemical department, and the work he wanted me to do was somewhat related to it. ज़बरदस्ती का उसमें CS का part घुसा दिया था, which I didn't want to do. And a couple of days after that, I got an offer from IIT. I'd given my interview in October, and I got a reply from them in December. And I was like, of course, इतने टाइम तक आया नहीं है, response तो होने ही नहीं वाला है. But then the HR person from their office, she told me she was on a leave for about a month. So, yeah, I got scheduled for an interview, and I got it luckily, and that's how I got the IIT internship. जाके बोला है.
I would like to add that process is the same, just like scenarios are different, but if you see the process is the same. Like patience is the key.
Was it any different for you, or it was the same thing?
No, it was the exact same thing, with only difference that actually some research internships were actually offered by the college as well, through some contacts, and I had actually gotten an offer from IIT Patna's professor. It was under a similar role of machine learning and computer science, but and I had even accepted that. But then, knowing that she had gotten an offer of internship from IIT Bombay, and it was all thanks to her that I could actually get the email of the professor that she was interning under, and then I approached him as well. And again, after a few days of talking and emailing back and forth, again thanks to her, I actually secured an internship in IIT Bombay as well. And then after a comparison of profiles, or after a comparison of the work, I preferred the IIT Bombay's
She was
work.
also there.
IIT Bombay's work better. And so I decided to withdraw from the IIT Patna internship, and then it was the same process as what was followed here.
Why masters?
So, this is a personal opinion, no one take any offense. But personally, for me, it is like in such a world of like this fast-paced world of so much high competition around us, where everyone is a B.Tech. Then it's like even if you get placed from college, even then there are like 100 different people in the same role as you. So with the only intent of adding some more value to myself, with the only intent of making my portfolio stronger, that was the ideal path that I wished to take, because of the benefits it provided, and of course in the longer run, whenever I get placed afterwards, that will be a much higher compensation for me personally, and I prefer that over to what is offered just after B.Tech.
How did your job end up landing on your plate?
So in my case, I think I was actually very choosy myself. I did not want to do tech, and this college is basically an institute of technology.
It is an institute.
It is an institute of technology. And for me, it was like right in my first year, I figured out I did not enjoy coding. And it was my basic personality that I did not want to sit in front of a laptop or a computer and just code. That was not what I wanted to do. And when the placement process started, they were mostly tech profiles that came our way, and I did not want to do that. And there were non-tech opportunities. Like I remember the company I got placed in was the third non-tech opportunity we had, but the ones before that were also like, there's one that was core finance, and when I'm talking about non-tech, I'm not actually talking about finance, right? So again, I did not want to get into core finance, and all of that happened. And fortunately, I did not have to wait very long. I got into KPMG in a decent amount of time, and I feel like this was the place that actually valued my skill set as compared to the 2 or 3 interviews I'd given before. And it was mostly about, like, when we talk about the placement process, there's no formula, unfortunately, that we could give to others or we could seek from our seniors as well. But fortunately, the firm I'm placed in now, that is KPMG, it felt like it valued everything I've done in this college so far, the process itself. Otherwise, the way the process is, there are different roles, and there's this entire list, and if you're towards the end of the list, so by the time your first interview gets scheduled, the first 5 people, they are even done with their second round.
Second, yeah.
And your first round is has not even happened by that point.
Yeah, in this case, I was lucky. I got my interviews online. I was wearing shorts and white t-shirt, white shirt, formal shirts. Okay, I was very comfortable. I was at my hostel. I on around the floor, I told them that my interview is there. Do not disturb me. If you guys live at hostel, like how it is. So I got myself comfortable, and then I started my interview. And I didn't even took my own laptop. I took someone else. Like, your laptop is nice one, please give it to me. I have my interviews. So net connection was stable, everything was good, and literally I got lucky that day. Like 10-15, my first round finished in just 10 to 15 minutes. There were people waiting for their second round. Their first interview got done. I got shortlisted first, and I was like, wait for 5 minutes, your HR round will start right here.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me in my KPMG interview as well. Though KPMG was following this process, that they were starting the next round only until everyone was done with their first round. So that is something I really kind of appreciated. And I think more so than anything else, it is a matter of luck. Unfortunately,
Yeah, exactly.
You can't predict. There's no special preparation you can do. No preparation is enough. You just need to be lucky.
Like there are some times, like the one who has got like literally zero skill can get placed, also, like if you're competing with higher skills also. So it is a matter of luck, complete luck. So yeah, you can just pray for God.
So see, the thing is, I've known you guys for 3.5 years, and there's plenty of other things we could be talking about. I feel like we have barely scratched the surface of all the things that we've done together, all the things you guys have done together.
Yeah, there are a number of things. Like as you have said earlier, I've done a number of things. I've also participated in competitions. I've also participated in robotic competitions. I've also participated in case study competitions, hackathons. I had a lot of fun. Like, I have made the most out of it, and I have been in sports also.
So everybody has something like that. Right? For example, we haven't had time to talk about food challenge, which happened after a 3-year gap, right? These people executed that. We haven't really had time to talk about a bunch of other things. We are not getting into that anyway. But in closing, because we are running at an hour and a half by this point, and I don't know what we can cut because everything is relevant. Let's see about that. So I want to ask each of you a very pointed question, and I want very specific answers from you. Imagine that you're speaking to a first year student. Okay? Imagine Aditya is a first year. Practically he's a first year student. He spends like 7 months in the college, right? 7 महीने तो हुए ना आपको?
नहीं, साल plus हो
अच्छा
गया.
ठीक है. All right, cool. But imagine he's a first year student. And he's somebody who hasn't picked up the guitar in his 10+2 level, right? He used to play guitar up till the 8th standard, and then he stopped because everybody stops doing things for those 3 years. What are the 3 things you'd tell him that would make him want to pick up that guitar and play it?
I would like to tell that there is no specific time for playing guitar. Like, if you schedule it, like I'll play it 6 to 7. No, 6 to 7 can be anything. Okay, there can be a meeting. There can be your friends hanging out. Okay, anything can be there. Okay, if it is not 6 to 7, do it 11 to 12. All right. If you don't play it nicely, you're disturbing someone. Disturb them. It's all right. It's your talent. You're learning. Please do it.
Yeah, unless that person is giving an interview.
Yeah, this is the first thing, and there is nothing such like time. That is the only thing I would like to tell. And second thing, exposure. Go to open mic and perform. Go to Sargam and perform. Participate.
You give him the content he needed.
I'll short form करके सब जाएगा.
Alright, Trisha. Aditya is a first year student and he comes from Virar. What are the three things you want to tell him? Besides expressing a lot of sympathy.
I would like to I would like to disturb over here. The third thing I would like to tell him is change the strings. Oh yeah, you can continue. Sorry.
No, I'm just going to tell you shift. No, but seriously. So I used to travel to Borivali during my 11th and 12th grade. And I remember making a lot of use of that time by shifting my schedule. I used to stay late in my classes till 8 o'clock every day. I used to come in at 7, I used to go at 8. And one of the reasons for doing that was that the train timings were comfortable for me with regards to getting a seat firstly, so that I can do my work sitting in the train. Because other times, there are some times at around 6 or 7 where there's barely enough space for you to stand. फ़ोन भी खोल के नहीं देख सकता है कभी कभी, तो कुछ करना तो दूर की बात है. तो maybe you can sit back in college in the library for some time and then find a time for you where you can find a seat in the train and do something productive out of it, instead of just wasting that time standing or sitting or just browsing through your phone. So I had suggested to me that you can save podcasts and listen to them on the train, and I did do
You can
that.
listen to your own.
Right, so yeah, that's pretty much all you can do, I guess. So there's one more thing I'd like to add to that. No matter where you live, how far you live, I think you shouldn't make that an excuse for not doing something, be it studies, be it attending an event or going for a movie or anything of that sort, because these are the 4 years that you are going to be able to do something. After that, the job lag chuki hai.
Also hanging out with friends. If you are being lazy on the Sunday, please don't wait.
Right, of course. And you can, there are probably going to be times when your parents don't allow you to come home. I remember coming home by 1 o'clock in the night, 3 o'clock in the night, and those days was pretty worth it, even though the scolding I got after that. You can find ways to stay over at a friend's place, but just make sure you're doing everything, you're not missing out on anything just because of your location. That's all.
Alright. You want to move to Virar now?
I'm good in Borivali.
Omkar. So I feel like you were the one who came to these committees with the least amount of an idea about what's supposed to be done in them. That's the sense I got from you in the first year. So it's like a shared question. I'll be asking you more or less the same thing. So again, he's a first year student. He's very confused about which committee should he be in. And there's like 24 committees put in front of him. Some committees have very dazzling presentations, some have very dazzling speakers, some have a very dazzling list of achievements, some just exist for some reason. How would you ask him to navigate that landscape and lock down where he wants to be?
Firstly, enroll in Spark.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would suggest you to get in touch with a lot of seniors first. A lot of seniors, not just one, not just two, because obviously if I am in committee A and someone else is in committee B, then you will get biased views from both of them. But get in touch with a lot of seniors, talk to them, talk to what they have to do as firstly as and when they were in first year, and also as the head of their committee or whatever post they are in. And then you will get a fair idea of what interests you have, what aligns with your interest, what committee works would you be actually wanting to be involved with, and then you can decide on obviously how many and which one committees do you need to go into, and yeah, that's it. Not much.
speaking of the other side of committees, right? You've been on the, you've been heading 3 committees. That's what you are most known for in this college, like chairperson of this committee, chairperson of that committee, chairperson of that committee. And they all had very separate profiles, but they were also kind of similar, right? And just through the sheer experience of handling those 3 committees and being very well connected in the college in terms of culture, in terms of the council and so on and so forth, you've seen sides of these committees that most of the people don't get to. Like the only reference they get is their own committee usually, right? Unless you're somebody like Aditya who ends up in a couple of committees additionally. So, I mean, you are very well positioned to talk about committee culture in a way that few people are. Like maybe I'm going to be one more of those people. I don't want to talk about it though. It's boring stuff. You do it for me. Talk about committees and cultures in this college. What's it like?
Honestly speaking, if I have to be very frank about this, the years that I spent as a chairperson in this college and what I'm seeing even right now, it is not a very conducive environment, in my opinion. So if we go back to the 2019-2020 tenure of every single committee, I've met most of those chairpersons. I've met Siddesh from Mudra, who founded Mudra. I've met Garima, who was the EIC of Spark. And Siddesh was also handling council. I met Manav, who
How was he handling it?
Sorry?
How was he handling the council?
Because he was the cultural secretary. And I've met Manav, Manav Sangvi, the chairperson of Oculus. And I've pretty much met most of those people. And I think the college desperately needs that year back in terms of committee culture, because the way those people supported each other, the harmony they worked with, I don't think that exists anymore. Because you see, that year every committee did well. Even Sara for ECEL, right? That year every committee did well. ECEL won NEC. That was the first time ECEL won NEC. Mudra got founded, and it will be safe to say, if I have to be blunt enough, the content that Mudra is putting out right now and the content that it shows in the induction and to the FEs, it's actually the content that KK sir and Siddesh together created in 2019 and 2020. Oculus was at a very grand scale, and Spark had its best open mic, as I hear from people around. And I think that was the harmony that was a result of the harmony these people had. I just a couple of weeks ago I met Manav and Siddesh here in SPTBI, and the way, like the banter they shared together even now, and the support those two people provided to each other, I think that is what is desperately needed. In my 10 years, I was fed up with these claims that this committee can't do this because it comes under our domain, this committee can't do this. They are like, people were just fighting all the time. When I was a chairperson in the second year, people had issues with that, and that was a big point of discussion. There were complaints made regarding that. And even in my third year, like a very recent example I'll give you, I am a part of the fashion vertical of Mudra, and we were editing a video, and the person who edited the video, he told me that please don't give me a credit in the caption, because the other committee I work with and I do editing for has asked us to not do this kind of a work for any other committee. And my blood was boiling. I mean, do we really own people's talent here? Like, are we paying them to do that? Are we signing these contracts? People are in the committees because of their interests and because of the talent and the skill set they have. And what nonsense is all of this, to be very honest, that you can't work for so and so person, you can't do this. Committees are fighting that this event, like for example, ECEL was doing an event for 10 years. It has been executing an event in this college for 10 years, and a certain committee has issue with that we are doing a very similar event, and so on, all of that, right? So So I don't think so that this environment is going to help us sustain for a really long time. And more so, if I have to recommend something or suggest something, people who are handling committees, they need to desperately go to their seniors and talk to them. Like I always went to Sara for any doubts regarding NEC or ECEL. I was talking to Siddesh also a lot, and those were the people who actually gave me a right direction, and those are the people I really need to learn from because they're proven in their domains, right? So I think something should be done about this. Now, what things should be done is I can't really comment on that. But that was my blunt response to the environment that currently exists in this college regarding committees.
Do you all have anything to add to that?
Nothing. Just be fearless and go out there, do stuff, just
I mean,
enjoy.
just to add on to my own thing, you know, everyone, like a committee is basically a collaboration, right? It's not a competition. People that are coming together are people with separate talents and great skill sets by themselves. So that insecurity that crops in within committees or inside a committee itself, I think we should restrain ourselves from that.
How long have you held that in, by the way?
I mean, like if that is actually going into the final cut, that question. Um, like when I like people just look at the thing that this girl was the chairperson in the second year, or this girl is the chairperson of ECEL or other committees, etc. Right? Like when you also spoke about my chairpersonship, you spoke about it with a lot of appreciation in your eyes, and I feel like people just look at the positive aspect of it, but there are a lot of other things you have to deal with. It is not at all easy, and the reasons why it is not easy was something that I desperately needed to spell out.
So, in about 5 months, you're out of this college? Less than 5 months. What are some things that are going to bring you back?
You. One thing, nothing else.
In my case, I think I have kind of developed a lot of emotions for all the committees I've worked with. So anytime if I get an invitation from ECEL, or if they need any kind of help, ECEL, IR doesn't exist anymore anyway. And even Spark for that matter, that's that. And like there's certain people, right? It's of course KK sir. I made this very clear to him a few days ago that I will come to this college only if KK sir calls me for anything or the principal calls me for anything, because the principal has also extended a lot of his support to me in places I needed, and maybe one or two other professors.
So this would, as many people would call it cliche, but it is actually a second home for a lot of us. This is the ground where a lot of our friends really, like, from the time we met the first time in person in, I think, April 2021, April 2021 till this date, this is the the place that has brought us closer together, and it has like really made some very very strong bonds, and that is something you cannot forget overnight or even in the long run. And so this is the birthing ground for us, you could say. So that will bring us back.
I think I'm gonna agree with him.
Of course.
Our friends are the reasons that brought us to college on a daily basis. Forget about a point later on in life, but our friends would be the main reason. If they're coming to college any day, I think we'd definitely be in for that. And besides that, I think the events of our college, especially Oculus, the summit, or open mic. All of that, I think we'd be open for it.
Aditya, you need to send us an invitation for the summit.
Personal invitation.
स्पेशल
मैं घर आके देता हूँ मिठाइयों का डब्बा लाता हूँ
बिल्कुल
वो ई समिट आना चाहिए घर पे
हाँ वो
काजू की कतली नहीं होगी ना तो नहीं आएंगे.
You guys came to this college at a very strange time. Probably the strangest time anybody has ever come to any educational institute. I remember for a period of 9 months, I was technically employed in this college, and but I had nobody to teach. You know, so I remember the first time the admission process got over, and the timetable came in. And then I remember booting up Google Meet for the first time. And I ended up teaching computers and IT together. That's how it worked at club classrooms. And I remember the first hour of education. I'm not going to repeat all the things I said there because she remembers those. She can probably do that. You can't do that on camera though. And I remember ending that lecture. And you know, there are these movie lines that kind of come to you at times. It's like ये line तो movie में belong करती है. मुंह से बोलूँगा तो अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. But I remember is feeling very distinctly that, okay, now I feel alive. Because for the 9 months I wasn't doing the thing that I actually get paid to do in this college. I don't get paid to do this, by the way. So,
Yes.
yeah, at Spark. So that's what your batch has been for me. Like for these 4 years, nobody has gone through the kind of challenges you guys have. Like transitioning from online to offline, it must have been extremely difficult. Far more so for you guys than it was for us. Just trying to get things working again, right? That's a big challenge by itself. You guys came in here with no experience about how offline concepts work, how events work. These are the people who you get to thank because they showed you how things are supposed to be done.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah? And that's great because now I don't have to show you those things anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't have that luxury with those people. And again, me showing them by itself achieves nothing, right? You still have to have that mindset and that mettle to get things done. And you guys have done such a fantastic job of that over these 4 years. Right? I could not imagine performing 2 years in a row at open mic with the same guy. That happened. Right? I could not imagine having some guy who I can speak to about camera gear at any point of time. And then I know what kind of answer he's going to give me, but I do it anyway. And these days we do it just to annoy other people. That's true. I can't imagine there's this girl coming from Virar every single day and she has all the reasons to just complain about that non-stop, but this is legitimately the first time I've seen her speak about that in like 2 years. I never imagined that we would have that 1-2 whammy of winning NEC and within a month doing the summit. I honestly thought that after NEC you guys would be like, okay, we are done. जो करना था कर लिया. बस अभी placements, MS, बाकी कुछ नहीं है ज़िंदगी में. But then the summit just materialized. And I can say that about a lot of people from your batch, not just you, right? Because that's the kind of batch that has been. There's one more qualification you guys have that may not feel like it's very special, but it actually is to me. You guys are the last batch of s.p.i.t. that can speak to the first batch of s.p.i.t. and have the same common ground. s.p.i.t. has always been about 60 students for computers, 60 for IT, 60 for EXTC, 60 for electronics. These people can't say that. So you now are a part of the heritage of this college, even though you're still in the college. And in spite of that, right, you have achieved things in this college that these people can absolutely aim towards. But from my side, not just for the 4 of you, but for your entire batch, that is the class of 2024, just thank you for coming to s.p.i.t. Thank you so much. And with that, we wrap, mister. That's it from Spark, guys. See you all next time. Bye-bye.